When do you have any questions that you want to ask before we go to the slides? How about how's the video? Do you understand what I'm trying to portray or give you?
Sir.
Any questions that you want to ask? Tak ada?
Saya ada satu soalan.
Good.
Saya nak tanya macam for causes of popular dissatisfaction yang saya explain, saya tak faham yang the first point. Apa maksud dissatisfaction among the people where the mechanical operation of rules, apa kaitan tu dengan society, sir? Saya tak faham sangat.
Okay. In anything that you do right now, anything that you do, does it relate to law, any type of law?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have problem in our society that still persists?
Yes.
Do you think law is the solution for all society problem?
Tak.
Tak. What else do you think that can play a role? Kita ambil satu fenomena, orang miskin, right? You still have people that is poor as compared to other countries. They are obviously Western world yang memang orang miskin, tapi in some countries there is none. Okay, very minimal lah, yeah. Okay, how come they are able to do that? How come we still have that in our society? You were saying just now is the system that we have is not able to settle that problem. Meaning, whatever system that you are saying, kalau orang miskin, apa sistem dia? Is it because of the what do you think? Is it because of the law? Or is it not?
Saya rasa
You rasa?
not because of the law, but because the law cuma cover a few, like the law covers only the majority but not the minority of the society.
Okay.
So yang miskin, yang poor tu is in the minority, so dia tak tercover by the law.
Dia tak tercover by the law. Jadi apa yang kita kena buat? Problem tu masih ada kan?
Yes.
Jadi solution dia?
Tak sure, sir.
Jadi sekarang ni bila I tanya soalan, jadi solution dia macam mana? So bila I tanya soalan, everyone yang dengar, if you peka with the problem that we are facing in our society, then you might be thinking of ways, selama ni tak pernah fikir, tapi but now you have to start because I am asking you questions, right? And my question is a valid question pun. How do you settle this? Betul tak? So bila I tanya soalan, so every one of you hopefully will open up your thinking cap and think of ways, creative ways, that you can come up with. Do you have any? Siapa yang creative among you yang can come up with solutions, We know for the fact that macam Laila cakap, the law is unable to do its job. That is okay. Kita kena accept. Because you have to go to the reality. Law is not helping those poor people to be in a position that they can help themselves. Right? Law is generalized and law cannot concentrate on certain people just because there's too many people to take care of. So, jadi kalau macam tu, orang yang tercicir ni, dia orang akan sentiasa kena tercicir. So, I mean, to have a reality check of the society, we have to change that. Takkan you just nak control the society and say, you know, hantar lah, like certain minister making statement, dia orang yang saja tak nak ubah dia punya attitude, so they deserve to be in that position. So kita tak boleh ada attitude macam tu, because our aim is to provide justice to the society by virtue of the law. Knowing that the law is not enough, so what we need to do? Do you have any suggestions?
Excuse me, sir. If I may suggest that, what if not the law but the representation in the legislature that ought to change?
Okay, good.
Because I believe that there should not be an exclusive monopoly of the legislative powers by the elites.
Okay, good.
There should be representation by people who are living in terraces or living in kampong, because it is not fair that the elites should decide how the poor should live. They do not know how the poor are living.
True.
So those are, to me, the reasons why there is disparity between wages, or there is such open gaps of inequality in our society, because the people who make the laws cannot relate. They do not empathize with the people that are suffering.
Because these people doesn't have proper representative.
Yes, that is what I would suggest.
Good. Okay, good, Naif. Good observation. Meaning, if you apply sociological jurisprudence, you look at the reality of things. And how do you know the reality of things? We look at the member of parliament, how it is being divided, right? The system that we apply, it does not go to the extent that we represent those people that is poor, that is located in certain areas. We just give a locality of area, and then the number of people in that locality, therefore we give a representation of that locality. That's it. We don't give the, what they call it, the status of the locality, the people in that locality, right? Whether they are poor, whether they are rich, whether they are, you know, incapacitated by certain situation and things like that. We do have like senator, right, that represent interest groups to be able to check and balance in the upper house, right? So macam say for example orang asli, to be represented in terms of somebody, to represent them in parliament. But reality is still problem persists. Still problem is still there, kan? So good, Naim. Lagi? The rest? Ada 43 orang in the session right now. Takkan Naim seorang? Laila, yes?
Saya setuju dengan Naim, tapi saya boleh tak kalau saya suggest, what if the legislative create a law yang specifically only for the minority, while we already have the law for the majority. Maksudnya macam sociological jurisprudence lah, macam ada check and balance, balancing on both, kan? Possible ke macam tu kalau macam tu?
Tak kira lah. Sociological jurisprudence is saying that anything goes. But if you have to do balancing lah. Macam Roscoe Pound, you have to do balancing in order for you to get the proper outcome. Every parties, every section of the society must be look upon of their interests, right? So this balancing must be conducted. Macam Naim kata, equal representation in terms of who they are in parliament, which is non-existent. Tapi kalau kita nak adakan, it does involve, as Laila said, law. So when I asked Laila about law being the most important thing to change whatever it is in our society, we will come back like what Naim is saying. Coming back to law. Law kalau tak ada, tak boleh nak ubah apa-apa pun. You cannot move without that power in your hands. No matter what you are suggesting, say for example, can we have another suggestion about how to settle? Kita ambil satu specific problem, orang miskin.
Sir,
Yes, Anis.
what if we impose special tax for the T20 and exempt the B40 from any tax?
Okay, is that involving law?
Yes.
Yes. Lagi, I need somebody yang idea yang tak ada involve law. I can bet with you any suggestion that you come up with must involve law, i.e. policy of the government that goes bring the idea to the parliament. It must empower somebody to do something. Any idea? Yeah, Laila?
Chat box ada yang jawab.
Increase employment rate. How do you increase employment rate? Can you increase without law? Eventually, kalau you nak berkata support charities and NGOs that aim to eradicate poverty, is it something that we can do without enable them to access the law? Macam mana they are to do things? How to empower NGOs in order for them to help? So far, kita ada NGO, beratus NGO, nothing is changed. Poverty punya rate is going higher and higher. No matter what you suggest, it must involve law. I bet you, I cabar you to prove that any suggestion that you want to do to change that problem must involve law. Whether you like it or not, eventually it will involve law. Empowering somebody to do something in order for them to change that situation. So, Izzah, you're saying? But it's okay. You can stop me and disagree. It's okay. But I am stating my mind that you cannot change without law. Selalu orang perkecilkan kita, kata law ni nothing, without law we can do, without we can replace law with AI. AI cannot, dia tak ada empathy. They cannot go to the extent that solve the society problem. So therefore, what I'm trying to say here is that from the sociological jurisprudence, you face the fact. The fact is the problem still persists. So kalau a problem persists, let's look at the problem. Looking at the problem in detail is our task as people who are lawmakers, right? Kita ni memang lawmakers lah kan. Eventually we are going to end up there. So therefore you have to go down to the reality, to the society, to those people yang miskin, investigate, do research and analyze the data and then come up with a conclusion. Analyze the data meaning the research yang kita buat mestilah buat balancing. You try to create a law that would be able to have a positive outcome, i.e. to solve the poverty punya situation. Obviously, it will not change 100%. However, it might go to 70%, 60%. It's good enough. Once we reach that goal for that particular, kita akan buat lagi in the next 3 years or 5 years or 10 years down the road. We need to review the law. Then we look at the data again, collect the data, and this is a progressive thing. The Western world have done it. They analyze things. They are not there simply because Allah jadikan mereka macam tu. They were once barbaric people juga. But how come they have managed to go to that level? There must be something wrong, something right that they have done, which we are not doing. So, what I am telling you guys as legal thinkers of the future, in order for you to do something, to create laws, you have to be practical, we have to be reasonable, we have to be looking at the reality. Ramai yang buat undang-undang just because undang-undang tu they think now rather than thinking, think tu juris one. Yeah, you can think that the law is like this, the law is like that, but juris tu is not no more thinking. It is about reality, looking at the reality of things. And how to know the reality is by going down the to the ground. Yeah, how to go to the ground, meaning as what Naim is saying, the representative, maybe that representative is very close to those people that the nature of that person, orang miskin. So bila dia orang miskin, dia tahu nak mempertahankan hak orang miskin. Tapi the problem is that when MPs, they realize the problem of the society, when they go to become member of parliament, dia lupa habis. You know, they are so busy into isi poket dia orang. They are so busy to layan certain people. They are so busy with political punya turmoil, like what we are having right now. You know, nobody cares about those people yang tak makan, yang kena COVID, you know, how to prevent COVID from spreading. You know, we live to certain quarters, Kementerian Kesihatan, that's it. Habis mampu lah orang nak kena handle, you know, they are stressed out because the manpower, sekarang lah manpower, mana yang dah pencen, panggil balik. You know, that is not settling the problem. So we try our best to find the solution. That is what sociological jurisprudence is saying. When you are in that position, once you know everything, you have done everything in terms of finding the cause of the problem, and you try to plan. Now that planning must go to balancing exercise between the three parties mentioned. Siapa yang the three parties mentioned by Roscoe Pound? In the exam you kena repeat that lah. Okay, Roscoe Pound, dia punya intention, what dia ialah this is what it is in terms of how Roscoe Pound sees it. You know, how to change that problem in the society. So, berapa balancing yang ada?
3.
Good. Private, public dengan
Social.
social. Boleh beza tak public dengan social?
Private for individual.
Bukan, public dengan social.
Public is for government.
Public government.
Very good. Public is for government, social is for the society, right? So you have to do balancing. You tengok slide yang I dah bagi. So from the slide, dia ada specific unique areas yang dalam satu-satu tu dia ada cabang-cabang dia. Oh, I ada bagi ya? Tak bagi ya?
Ada sir.
Ada Alright. So boleh nampak generally what is sociological jurisprudence is all about? Any questions? Please tanya. Tak guna I go on kalau you still cannot understand, tak apa. Kita spend time untuk discussion.
Sir,
Yes, Natasha.
We talk about balancing, right? But
Yes.
is the standard of the balance, maksudnya macam mana kita nak pastikan kita capai standard of balancing semua interest tu?
Macam mana kita nak capai? That is a good question. Macam mana kita nak capai according to Roscoe Pound? We have to analyze the data lah. Siapa yang kita nak lebihkan? Siapa yang kita nak obviously kalau every section you tanya private nak dia punya interest lebih. Public pun nak dia punya interest lebih. So does the society. But the problem have to be resolved by virtue of law. So macam mana kita nak buat? So we have to ambil sikit on private, ambil sikit on public, ambil sikit on society. It depends on which yang kita nak banyakkan. Say for example, problem of drugs. Macam mana kita nak lebihkan drugs? Kita nak bagi enforcement capability of the public organisation, public sector, the legal institution. Kita nak bagi dia orang enforcement banyak lagi ke dengan bagi new laws, ataupun kita macam mana? Kita nak allow private untuk take drugs? Macam mana? Kalau kita nak bagi private take drugs, kita kena consider the public institution akan burden with problem. Macam yang perempuan bawa drugs yang langgar army tu mati kan. So macam mana kita nak buat balancing? So dekat society juga kita nak kena buat balancing lagi. So it is a subjective nature. It is not objective. It is not as simple as being laid out. Itu yang ramai orang komen juga about Roscoe Pound. You talk about being in reality, but excuse me, you are not being practical in the sense that how do you know which one is to balance more? How do we have that equilibrium between the three sector or three division? It's very difficult. Contoh kita ambil artikel 153. Macam mana kita nak buat balancing in the equal distribution of wealth nowadays? We are not talking 1957, we are talking about 2020. Is it something that still prevailing in our society? How do you know whether it is still relevant? Kita kena buat research lah. Kalau kita nak buat research, kita kena open up. Meaning all data must be laid out on the table. And then we work together into formulating a new law. And that law must, prior to that, must conform to the balancing. Barulah kita kata law is going to achieve dia punya outcome. Natasha, boleh tak?
Yes sir. Saya macam, sebab kalau kita buat law pun mesti ada loss and gain kan. Meaning
Ya, betul. Mana-mana law pun mesti dia ada pro and cons. Mesti confirm. Kita ni bukan manusia, kita bukan manusia. Kita bukan Allah. We are not God that we are able to settle all problems. And Allah pun saja tak nak settlekan problem because kita ditest dekat dunia ni. So everything is going to be haywire. Memang saja dia bagi macam tu, nak tengok macam mana kita buat. So people like you and me, especially you guys, later on when you draft the law, you are going to have that in your mind. Everything is in balance. What you need to do is to achieve the best possible way that you can in order for you to come up with a new law that hopefully be able to resolve the problem. Ramai yang kata kalau masalah kemiskinan kita bagi makan kat dia orang. So ada yang kata kalau bagi makan dia orang takkan kerja lah. Semua orang yang nak kerja kata tak payah makan. Tak payah kerja, makan. Free dah diberi kan. So macam mana? But in the Western world, we see places where people that is poor being sponsored by the government. Jadi adil ke tak adil? So they have no problem in feeding the poor, but we have problem in feeding the poor because we think that we have that negative element. Nampak tak juror postulate dia? Whenever you create law, there are resistance. Juror postulates tu adalah the problem that comes along with you trying to come up with law. Very real, yeah. You are worried that people think negatively, the juror postulate ada 6 dan 7. So those are the hindrance, yeah, that you must avoid in order for you to create new laws. So that is what juror postulate is all about. So there are the 2 steps. First step is to identify the data, whether it is real or not. 3 steps. First, check the problem. Second, to balance the interest of all the 3 parties. And then the third one is to be able to eliminate juror postulate or take into consideration of juror postulate. Maksudnya you avoid this you buat andaian, ya. So you jangan buat ada negatif andaian, you kena buat positif andaian. Kalau you buat negatif andaian yang negatif, maka you tak akan keluarkan undang-undang. Oh takutlah, inilah, itulah. Nanti sekejap lagi kalau kita samaratakan wealth di Malaysia, kita buangkan artikel 153, say for example, kalau you buang, apa akan jadi? You know, are we going to be in chaos? So maksudnya, you jangan takut to the extent that it is going to destroy the country. Maybe it's going somewhere because some other countries did not implement Article 153. They have in their own ways, ada benda-benda lain lah. But our task is to investigate. Itu yang kita hantar, kita punya ministry untuk nak buat improvement to the law, that the delegation that goes to other countries to review, to investigate, to analyse other countries punya, apa orang kata, improvement that they have done towards their law, because everything is about law, right? So kita pergi negara lain, itulah Quran dah kata, Nabi pun dah kata, pergi negara lain, tengok dia orang punya. Kalau lah kata tak, kalau tengok keindahan Allah sahaja tak cukup lah. Kita kena tengok apa yang dia orang tengah buat, yang di mana baik untuk masyarakat mereka, dipakai untuk masyarakat kita, diubah sesuai untuk masyarakat kita. Doesn't mean that dia orang buat dia orang luluskan prostitution, kita nak luluskan. Doesn't mean that we are supposed to do that. We have to take into consideration our society punya interest. Their society interest is different. Soalan? Sampai esok nanti, sampai Izzaz, nak tanya soalan? Siapa yang disagree, agree, or you have another idea? Remember, we are looking at only one group of people where it is concentrating on that in their idea of how to settle this problem, the society problem. There are so many other ways, obviously. Kalau you ambil yang mana yang kita akan belajar, kita ambil feminist, kita ambil Marxist, kita ambil postmodern, kita ambil the American realism. There are so many other ways yang kita boleh pakai. But what I'm doing with you right now is just looking at sociological jurisprudence. It is not the answer, but it might be one of the answers that it is better as compared to Juris 1. It is more realistic, it is more practical, it is more empirical. Sebab data yang kita collect is empirical data. How can you argue based on your belief against data? Data is more proper, data is more concrete as compared to belief. Saya percaya hantu. How do you prove hantu? You have statistic data, then okay. Then you will say that, oh yeah, in this situation, evidence, tangkap gambar situ, video sini, testimony sini, you know, dapat gamma ray punya, then that collection of data can concertedly be pulled together and say, ya, ada wujud. Sama dengan atheist, agnostic, dia orang tak percaya Tuhan, tapi but how do you know whether Tuhan tu wujud ke tak? You look at the data. I mean, if you look at the data is telling you something. You know, as scientists, you have to derive to a certain conclusion, which is based on data. The same thing with sociologists. Sociologists are social science, the science of the society in terms of understanding how the society behave. So we have to look into that. How do you look into that? You cannot be compartmentalized looking at only certain people je. You kena ambil general data. That data is having balancing, then we came out with the idea. Soalan?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Naim. Yeah.
Macam kita punya discussion is mainly based on legislating, creating laws. What about dismantling laws? Macam what is happening in Thailand and to a certain extent happening in America, that they want to abolish the Affordable Care Act, and in Thailand they want to basically
Change the constitution.
dismantle the yes. So in those aspects, how does sociological jurisprudence apply, sir?
Okay, they wanted to have their rights to be to change the government, betul tak? Government sekarang memang ada army junta, so they don't like army to control. It is not democracy at all, because they are in power, betul tak? So jadi how they abuse power, two division of the army was given to the king in order for him to protect himself, you know. Two division. Whose money is the division is supported? The rakyat. So the rakyat is paying tax, and then the tax is going to the king, and the king is spending like nobody's business. The other 2 billion, 20 billion, 2 billion at his disposal, and he is running the country from German. So that is not fair. The society is saying that you, junta, you want to run our country. You established coup the other day. Now you are in control. You use our money as what you want. We are never better than what we are before, you know. And we know that bocor tu ada, duit tu bocor kan. Jadi they are not happy. Dah 20 kali dah constitution dia orang dah ubah, 12 kali coup. So I mean, they are fully aware of their rights. In order for them to, these are good people in the sense that they know their rights tau. Orang-orang Indonesia, orang Thailand, ya, for to certain extent orang Kelantan, you know, they know their rights. Orang Penang, you know, they can change the government if the government doesn't work for them. And in order to answer Naim, in order for us to move forward, we have to dismantle the law. We have to dismantle the law. In order for you, say for example, you are the one that is going to draft the new constitution, right? Provided that the junta is no longer in power and the king is saying that, okay, we are going to be more open. You know, we are not going to do things that people hate. So jadi, if you are the one that is drafting the constitution of the new Thailand, yeah, so you have to consider removing all the laws that is orang kata you kena tutup lubang lah. Macam mana nak tutup lubang? You kena dismantle certain laws that they allow lubang tu semakin besar. So you kena at the same time you kena tutup any laws and create new laws. Sama dengan kita buat ISA dengan the new law pun. Apa nama new law? ISA replacing ISA siapa? Apa dia?
NSC.
So the same thing, if you want to change and new laws, you have to eliminate the old laws. Now remember, dia macam akar tau. Kalau you nak cabut pokok, you kena cabut, make sure that akar dia semua keluar. Kalau you tak cabut, you just ambil certain things saja, maka pokok tu akan hidup. There is going to be problem. Sama dengan ISA hari tu, kalau dia nak tarik, just simply dia kata ISA nak abolish. So many laws that is attached to ISA. So study has to be conducted into removing a law, satu. And then removing a law, ada vacuum. So macam you cabut pokok, mesti ada lubang kosong kan. Macam mana you nak fill that lubang with another pokok? You kena buat something lah. You have to fikir lah, you nak buat apa? You nak tanam pokok baru ke, nak bubur simen ke, nak apa ke. You have to plan. Untuk nak bubur simen dekat tempat yang selalunya budak-budak main, bahaya juga. You know, these are the analogy that I want to share with you supaya senang sikit kot you nampak. Okay. Soalan? Syamil?
Ya. Roscoe Pound ada juga kata kan, the great dia buat balancing of interest to achieve the greater maksudnya to the greater good for the greater number of people must be achieved kan. Maknanya So if the interest of the people in the larger society, macam the larger group is orang kata more advantage lah than the minority. For example, in the case dekat Pening, as we know that Pening ni majority is non-Muslim and Chinese overall. So sekarang diorang implement the new law, the law yang only allow for the Muslim punya community untuk azan dengan iqamat sahaja using pembesar suara. So in such cases kan, dia infringe juga kita punya kita values, kita value negara kita, and then tapi at the same time dia mengikut apa yang Puan kata, which is mesti dia dah ada data because all the community dekat Pening is majority bukan Muslim and all. So take that as a consideration, betul, on the sociology. Tapi how about the value of the state itself? Macam mana yang sociological kita punya sociological jurist ni tengok macam something like that?
Okay. What is the outcome of a law yang kita nak?
Yeah.
Law, apa yang kita nak law buat? Apa yang kita nak law capai?
Because the previous law is allowed for dalam constitution allowed for
generally law ni apa dia punya fokus? Apa yang dia nak capai?
Justice for the
justice. How do you relate? Kalau you tanya dekat orang miskin, justice, dia orang tak faham apa yang dia nak. Justice kan simply
dia best interest lah.
Dia best interest. Better interest untuk apa? Untuk mendatangkan apa?
For example, kalau yang miskin, of course dia punya nak ekonomi yang lebih baik.
Dengan ekonomi baik, apa yang akan capai? Apa yang akan dapat?
Modest life.
Tadi you cakap. The rest? Apa you nak capai? What is the purpose of law then? Happiness. Natasha jawab. Bagus. Yeah. That is the main goal of the law, is to provide justice. By providing justice, everyone is happy. So when it comes to this so-called balancing dekat Penang, say for example, the Penangites are mainly non-Muslim, right? So jadi nak buat macam mana? That is how they want it to be, and you are the minority, and then you have to succumb to the society at that position. Kenapa you buat something that irritate people? And Allah tak suruh kita irritate other people. You just want to tegakkan just because I don't care. This is a Muslim country, therefore if I allow you to control my movement in this manner, you are going to control me in other. I know this balancing must be done whereby interest of the private is lesser than interest of the society. Sama dengan isu tu kalau kita compare and contrast dengan LGBT. Kalau LGBT, they want to damn the private interest to increase as compared to the society, just because the Western world increase on the private punya rights ataupun interest of the private. That doesn't work here because the society is still in the position that they want the rights to be controlled. And dia nampak tak balancing Daching tu dah bergerak. Tadi more towards the individual, tapi sekarang kalau kita tengok the same topic LGBT dekat Malaysia, the society is doing the balancing and more emphasis or to be done on the society. So public must follow the society lah, rather than public is to support the private. Dia nampak tak balancing tu kena buat lah. When I put the picture as balance, tiga-tiga tu, it is very difficult untuk kita nak capai tu. Tapi that doesn't mean that kita tak boleh cuba. Kita kena cubalah. Cuba macam mana? Tengok data lah. Data macam mana? Buat research lah. Buat research macam mana? Pergi yang tahu orang buat study apa semua. Bila you buat semua benda tu, then you start to realize, oh yang dulu kita anggap tu hanya anggapan saja. Sekarang ni kita based on reality of data. Mari kita duduk kita buat ramai-ramai, which I think ramai yang orang tak suka buat benda ni. Benda ni dibuat di parlimen, tapi parlimen dia sibuk duk concentrate dengan berkelahi dia, nak semua ada agenda parti dia. So nobody is discussing the matter how to do the balancing, and it is being done dekat parliament. It's very difficult. Obviously they send for research on that area, kan. So adalah 6 bulan ke setahun dia kata okay, you hantar hantar komiti untuk buat research on those area yang kita bawa bill ni. So ada, tapi what he is trying to do is a more comprehensive things that needs to be done. Yes. Hey.
Excuse me, sir. Tapi on the matter kan, like we talk about the rights of the state untuk prohibit azan and all that. Wouldn't it be something yang within the state's jurisdiction ke? Macam soal agama Islam is a matter under the state list kan?
Yeah. So, jadi state kena play a role lah. Ini bukan bila kata dictate. You cannot dictate people to your religion. Okay, kalau lah kata macam tu, the Chinese and the Indian, they orang ada dia punya activity, ritual, religious activity. So you compromise lah. I mean, why not you compromise by dictating something just because you have that right? Does not solve problem. So katalah macam ni, excuse me, kita we can understand subuh, bang, kalau Zohor, Asar, Maghrib, Isya tu tak berapa kacau sangat lah. Tapi subuh yang jadi isu kan. So, can you consider you all pun buat keting ketong. Kalau tengok yang India punya kuil, pagi-pagi Maghrib pun ada juga keting ketong. Yang church pun ada juga. In one way or another, that their activities is interfering with somebody else punya rights. So, can we compromise? To me, Islam tak ada pun Nabi kata bang kena ada apa orang panggil hela, right? So bang biasalah, kalau you dengar then you pergi. Tu yang kalau kita tengok tempat-tempat lain, dia surau tu ada dalam satu taman, mesti ada surau, mesti semua orang dah tahu dah jam pukul apa nak pergi surau. But if it goes to the extent, it goes to the extent. You cannot, ini masalahnya, kita come down with I am the law, you follow. You pakai Austin punya rule. Okay, you pakai Austin punya rule, settle the problem. It doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Because matter still persists. Kalau kita cuma guna compromise, compromise tu maksudnya balancing. You are trying to give and take. Give and take in a world where everyone is trying to assert dia punya interest kan. Sooner or later, kalau dia akan jadi macam-macam lah, baling babi lah masuk ke dalam surau. We have sick people, out there. Kalau you compromise, tak ada apa-apa pun bang subuh tu. Tapi but they want to make it as a issue. Okay, fine. Then let's talk. Okay, you have your bakar abu panjang tu, sampai kita nafas pun tak boleh apa semua. We can tolerate that. How come you cannot tolerate our practices? So let's be in open. Masalah kita tak mau bincang. Kita takut, sensitif lah, itulah, inilah. That is what I'm trying to say lah. That is what Roscoe is trying to achieve. Empirical data, not hearsay. Hearsay tak boleh pakai. Boleh guys?
Boleh share.
Anis, ya Anis.
Nak tanya macam, so maksudnya positive discrimination towards Malays, and special treatment towards Malays, we can justify that law, those laws, by using this jurisprudence, right?
Yeah, because this is why you are learning jurisprudence, because selama ni you tak pernah question the law. You just follow the law. Apa yang section kata you ikut. You quote the section and then you quote the case that is being decided. You ambil common law dengan statute law in order for you to fight. The tools are being taught to you to fight. But now, should you use that law? Should you use that tools in order for you to fight? What is there another way of fighting? Nampak tak? Dekat juris kita belajar why not? Why not? Why if, you know? How if we apply this? So what would be the outcome? You never question the law, but now you are questioning the law in juris 1 dengan juris 2. Trying to find the best method, the best available way to solve our society punya problem. Because that is our duty. We are here because we are thinkers. So that's the only way, that is the only product that we produce, our brain. So we have to know which one is the one that is best for us to choose. Janice?
Teacher, thank you.
Lagi? Siapa? Lagi 10 minit. I was thinking of doing the slides. Tak apalah kot. You boleh baca lah slides yang ada satu yang I tak go through lagi. This is just to go through. Nantilah I buat video kalau boleh untuk nak bagi you puas dengan kita punya discovery of why sociological jurisprudence is a method. Hari tu yang I bagi tu is more towards what is sociological punya approach. Tapi sekarang ni kita kena tanya why, ya, why. Yeah, good. Tanya.
Kan macam orang claim Dr. Mahathir punya step, maksudnya dia inject macam few Malay businessmen kan, macam contohnya apa? Yang seorang yang kaya tu, yang tu maksudnya kita boleh justify using sociological jurisprudence tak? Maksudnya sebab orang Melayu memang kita kena tolong, memang untuk bangun memang kena tolong.
Dulu dia bagi method di mana semua orang boleh dapat opportunity kan. Tapi masalahnya Melayu ni dia tak nak move, ya, dia tak nak take opportunity. Chinese, they are opportunists, ya, they are very opportunist people. Say for example, Lim Gotong. Dalam hutan tu tak ada benda pun, tapi dia juga yang nak start. You pernah baca buku Lim Gotong, then you discover how he suffered in order for him to buka Genting Highlands, ya. Sama dengan Sunway Pyramid, ya. Sunway Pyramid siapa punya? Then you discover a Chinese juga, you know. Dia yang approach Tun Mahathir, siapa? Vincent Tan, kalau tak salah, Vincent Tan ke siapa? One of the top ni lah Chinese, So dia pergi jumpa Mahathir, dia kata can I use this land mining area, the abandoned mining area, for me to convert to something that is going to benefit the society. Can you give me the land? Dia kata ambil, you know. Because tanah lombong apa yang boleh buat? Oh, terus dia di taman tema air, you know. Dia buatlah apa-apa. You know, that idea is not in with the Malay, yeah. So I don't know, because kita dimanjakan dengan the laws that is siding towards us. Orang yang tak pernah rasa torture hidup, dia tak pernah guna otak untuk nak ubah diri. So in a way, we can contribute to the laws that we apply, advantage to the Muslim pula. Muslim yang Bumi Putra lah, Melayu dengan Bumi Putra. So balik pada soalan Anis, macam mana Anis kata tadi? Melayu yang Tun Mahathir ambil. There's a few yang sama yang kita boleh ingat ialah Al-Bukhari, Syed Bukhari, Syed Bukhari. Dia dengan syarat dia macam ni tau, kerajaan tak boleh nak cari semua. Macam Anwar Ibrahim dulu waktu dia Menteri Kewangan, dia bagi chances untuk semua orang, you know, chances untuk semua orang. Yes, ada yang berjaya, ada yang tak. So susah macam tu. Mahathir dia akan bagi dekat orang yang berjaya. Kalau lah orang tu boleh buat, dia akan diberi semua. So dengan harapan dia akan ambil orang lain untuk jadi dia punya second, third, fourth punya level. Okay? Dan orang yang di bawah dia akan berkembang. So dia jadi apa orang kata, protege ya. Dia akan jadi protege untuk orang lain, you know, untuk bawa ke depan. So anak-anak buah Syed Bukhari ni akan berkembang dan branch out. Because kalau you bagi dekat semua orang, ada yang berjaya, ada yang fail. Kita tak nak fail tu. Kita nak yang berjaya. So possibility of berjaya more than kalau 50% fail, 50% achieve. Kita nak probability kita tinggi. So kita bagi orang yang boleh deliver. Sama dengan kita tengok Chinese pun. Chinese mana yang boleh deliver, itu yang kerajaan akan bagi opportunity. Kalau dia boleh bawa society move forward. Because bila dia move forward, dia akan bawa society move forward. Because aktiviti yang dia buat adalah aktiviti yang akan memangkinkan ekonomi negara. So bila duit dapat dekat orang bawah dia, duit tu akan berkembang, akan pergi ke semua bentuk industri. Kita nampak semua mega project, semua bagi dekat orang yang sama. Jadi macam seolah-olah, takkanlah orang lain bodoh tak boleh buat kerja. I mean, they cannot deliver. Why should I give you if you cannot deliver? That is Mahathir style. Boleh Anis?
Boleh sir.
Sorry, it is supposed to be a discussion, tapi macam I do dictate my understanding towards you. But I just want you to get that idea of sociological jurisprudence, whereby we have to look at reality. We have to look at the society. We have to look at the public and private interest. Once we have done that, looking at the problem, trying to balance the best way possible, hopefully the law would turn out okay. Tapi kalau law turn out not okay, then again we have to do the cycle lah. Cycle itu nama yang I tunjuk macam gigi kan, gigi of the society kan, between, nampak tak gear, I show you the gear right. So the gear is just like engine of the car. In order for the car to move forward, the engine, the parts must be properly lubricated. Lubricated maksudnya, law is the lubrication, minyak tu, minyak pelincir tu. So the society kalau ada law yang cantik, dia akan boleh bergerak. So kereta boleh bergerak, maksudnya negara boleh maju. Soalnya kita kalau law tu out, law tu dia letak air, macam mana dia nak komponen tu nak bergerak? Tak ada fluid. Okay, and then you expect kereta berjalan? Tak boleh. You expect ekonomi naik, you expect orang miskin tak ada. You expect kita pergi ke negara maju? Tak boleh. Because you are not doing certain things to certain component, which is very, very important. Okay, so I think I've taken much of your time. InsyaAllah, I'll try to do the videos and upload the video and give the link dalam you future. Make sure you attend your, sign in your attendance. See you in the next, by the way, saya hutang you all ada yang group saya tak bagi lagi, sorry. I will try to give it by the end of the day, insyaAllah. Boleh? So you can complete your task. Next week kita jumpa ya. Thank you guys.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Video the conversation today for those yang nak dengar lagi. Alright, Assalamualaikum.
Salam, thank you sir.
Thank you. Semua kena keluar, otherwise video ni akan jadi 4 jam, 5 jam. Maybe.